As the complexity of global manufacturers increases, the value and effectiveness of integrated business planning typically decreases, often significantly. This is because supply and demand balancing represents a smaller portion of integrated business planning value in global manufacturers. A greater proportion of value is achieved by enabling manufacturers to optimize value, but this strategic value source is harder to achieve than tactical ones, which is why most have yet to fully realize it. Understanding this strategic value starts with an appreciation of activity-based costing. Thousands of manufacturers have used this costing method. What they find is that their products and customers aren't as profitable as they thought. In fact, it's not uncommon to find that most are unprofitable. What manufacturers come to realize is that traditional costing methods are inaccurate and overly simplistic, leading to distorted views of product and customer profitability. But these situations are really symptomatic of immature planning methods that can't accurately predict how products and customers consume resources. So, how is this relevant to integrated business planning? Mature forms of it should prevent these distortions from happening in the first place. In simple terms, this is the difference between strategic and tactical forms of integrated business planning. What's important to understand is that these profitability distortions are typically caused by a relatively small proportion of cost structures, ones that don't vary directly with volume. Rather than referring to these costs as just overhead, the terms batch and sustaining costs are used to describe their behavior. The problem is that traditional integrated business planning tools focus on supply chain costs. They don't support the ability to plan and manage costs that underlie these profitability distortions. As a result, this is a critical capability gap for most integrated business planning solutions when it comes to supporting strategic forms of IBP. The implication of such gaps is that complex manufacturers are more likely to have surprise and often unexplained variations in business results. For example, volume and mix changes can lead to revenues, margins, inventories, and cash flows that are lower or higher than expected. What also increases is the likelihood of wrong decisions about products, customers, services, and suppliers. When wrong decisions are made, it's often because people have limited visibility into their impact on other parts of the organization. In other words, decisions have unintended consequences. What also contributes to this is ineffective governance, where people are not accountable or rewarded for preventing decisions that affect multiple functions, business units, and legal entities. What's even more of a factor is that organizations don't effectively plan and manage trade-offs associated with these decisions. Managing trade-offs is not a new idea. For example, balancing trade-offs between customer service and inventory turnover is one of the underlying principles of effective inventory management. Another example is the trade-off between lower unit manufacturing costs, which result from greater production quantities, and higher inventories, with the ultimate objective being to increase margin per unit. This trade-off is a low-level example, which is connected to other higher-level trade-offs within manufacturing organizations. Problems can arise when such low-level trade-off decisions are made in a vacuum. In this case, one decision to increase production, to increase margin per unit, can lead to profit erosion at higher levels. Effectively managing these trade-offs requires a formal and structured approach that is used across manufacturing organizations. Planning and performance management processes become focused on balancing the achievement of one objective against its impact on others. What's more, it's managed from the top down, from customer segment trade-off objectives down to products, processes, and activities. The example here is for a forecast to stock process, while another one could be order to cash. Effective processes translate targets for customer and segment trade-offs, like those shown on the screen, into those for the rest of the business. One point to note is that one of the objectives of segment leaders is to minimize product and customer-related costs measured on an activity basis. This means that segment leaders are driving the cost structure for the entire business. A key part of this role is managing the overhead cost structures that were discussed at the beginning of this video. Their role in managing these costs is to define the service levels that will yield the desired costs and margins. In other words, the process answers the question, how much service can we afford to provide customers given what customers are willing to pay? This process results in an explicit dialogue between segment, process, and functional leaders about how the organization will deliver customer value propositions to achieve desired profit and customer satisfaction and retention targets. This approach provides one important benefit for business leaders. It enables them to establish effective accountability for managing revenue, profit, inventory, and customer service objectives. Without this approach, CEOs often have difficulty establishing effective accountability for these metrics. This approach also enables a formal mechanism for optimizing performance, something that most organizations lack. It also enables continuous cost optimization, where cost structures are always aligned with revenue streams. In turn, this capability provides the foundation for achieving profitable growth. What's also achieved with this outcome-based approach is the ability to effectively manage complexity, the cost of which can approach 5% of sales. Through more effective complexity management, it enables organizations to avoid the type of value erosion exposed by the results of the research studies shown on the screen. Note that the details of these studies are provided in a separate video. The key takeaway from this video is that trade-off management is central to strategic forms of integrated business planning. This is because it provides a formal mechanism that enables global manufacturers to optimize performance, achieve key objectives, and prevent value erosion by effectively managing complexity. Thank you for watching this video. For further details about its contents, please feel free to use the contact information shown on the screen.